It's Sunday night, August 3rd, 2025. Good evening, and welcome to the daily happenings inside our federal machine. This is Spathon, and it's time to plunge into the swamp. LA Chargers linebacker Denzel Perryman was arrested for possession of an assault weapon, according to TMZ. And also, Pennsylvania, they account for 30% of all Lyme disease across the United States, and lawmakers are looking to implement solutions. Democrats are still gaslighting their constituents to believing that they're quickly losing their Medicare benefits. They're also complaining because Trump isn't letting the government pay for IVF procedures. So, what do you Democrats want? Do you want abortions? Do you want babies? I mean, come on, make up your minds. Also, JD Vance, he gives his take on AI and how he believes it will affect the U.S. job market. And Marjorie Taylor Greene, she drops some ominous statistics regarding the status of nuclear families among 30-year-old millennials. Mark Molinaro was confirmed by the Senate as the federal transit administrator. The woman who was viciously attacked by the violent Cincinnati mob, she speaks out, revealing the extent of her facial injuries. And there's plenty more to dig through. So we're just going to dive right in. And if you enjoyed the video, or if you do enjoy the video, please like and subscribe and all that fun stuff. And I might just read your comment on the next episode if you drop one. So we're just going to start right here with Rep. Eric Burleson. Reminder that Gavin Newsom, the governor of California, he is not pro 2A. I'm sure he's probably been bragging about him being pro 2A, which he very, very clearly is not. He is CA compliant, or that he is not pro 2A and CA compliant, and is deeply unconstitutional. Yeah, he is. He is extremely unconstitutional. And he wants to run for president? Are you fucking kidding? Can you imagine that kind of a nightmare? All right, so that is, of course, in response to Tyler Schoon with regard to Chargers linebacker Denzel Perryman. So according to TMZ, he was arrested for possession of an assault weapon. Ooh, assault weapon, so scary. Let's see, we're told, quote, we're told he was en route to the gun range when cops searched his car and found he had 2 AR rifles and 3 handguns in his trunk. Big fucking deal. So did I this weekend. I did. With the rifles being non-compliant, which is illegal in California. Oh, what? So what? They're gonna fucking slap a felony on him now? He's still in jail as of Saturday morning, and he's probably still in jail right now. We're gonna make him pay. How dare he even lay eyes on an assault rifle? I mean, they're making it sound like that he had like fucking 5 bodies in his trunk. I mean, give me a fucking break, California. Anyway, let's see. He's still in jail as of Saturday morning, and he's due in court on Tuesday. Fucking Tuesday. They're going to make him rot in jail until fucking Tuesday over ridiculous firearm charges. He was going to the gun range. This is Denzel's first felony charge, first ever. Law-abiding citizen, just like the other 99% of law-abiding Americans who own firearms, they will never once in their life fire a single shot at another human being in offense nor in defense. Won't happen. 99% of American law-abiding citizens who own guns. It is fucking appalling, man. I don't know how they do it. I don't know how y'all can live in California. Anybody who's living out there, it would drive me absolutely brutally insane. Just because it would give me, like, I'm not one to talk anxiety all day long. I've got anxiety. I'm so anxious about everything. I mean, yeah, I've had a couple anxiety attacks in the past, now that we're bringing it up. But I would seriously have thoughts of anxiety. I would be paranoid. Absolutely paranoid if I were not allowed to possess firearms, which is beyond retarded to even say that out loud, because we do have the Second Amendment, which it's supposed to apply to every single American, but obviously it doesn't, because he was carrying firearms, which he's covered under the Second Amendment, the supreme law of the land, and he was thrown in jail for multiple days. And this isn't just some everyday nobody, man. This dude's an NFL player. He's a linebacker for the LA Chargers, for crying out loud. Unbelievable. And they still threw him in jail. That's how bad they hate guns out there. It's fucking crazy. Just the thought of that, dude. Like, I had mine in my back fucking seat when I went up to the gun range this weekend. And of course, I had other firearms because I wanted to go have fun this weekend. And plus, it cost freaking $20 just for an hour. So I'm going to have all the fun I can within an hour. Of course, I spent 2 hours there because I was having too much fun. But that is absolutely fucking insane. I feel really bad for him because obviously he was just doing the exact same thing that I was doing this weekend. He wanted to go up to the shooting range and have some fun, try to get his target practice shooting down a little better, get a little more accurate. see how many of his shots that he could hit as opposed to missing or whatever, you know what I mean? It's really sad, man. It's absolutely sad. Get out of California unless you're a progressive, in which case everything that you see around you in California, that is exactly the same across all 50 states. It's totally the same everywhere. So you might as well just stay where you're at. All right, whatever. So let's go on to the next one. I mean, that really sucks. So, I mean, hopefully, I can't even say hopefully that they drop those charges. I don't think they will. I really don't think so. It's ridiculous. But he does live in LA. I mean, he does play for the Chargers, for crying out loud. He does know this, does he not? He knows that they're illegal in the country. And that actually, that has me thinking, what gun range was he going to who were going to allow him to shoot those things anyway if they're illegal in the state of California? Is it just illegal to possess it? But it's not illegal for some weird reason to use it at a firing range? Is it one of those really ridiculous, stupid laws? Kind of like it's not illegal to drink in a bar, but it's illegal to be publicly intoxicated. But you can't explain to me how the hell you can leave the bar and not be publicly intoxicated. It's like no matter what, you're fucked either way. So, I don't know. Anyway, so this next one, it comes from Congressman Michael Baumgarten, I think. I believe that's who he is. Baumgardner. My apologies, Congressman. I got your last name wrong. I'm so horrible with names. I'm like the worst on earth with names. But this is really cool. It's not really a news thing. It doesn't have to do with our machine per se, but he is a congressman after all, and I thought this was kind of cool. He said he had a layover in LAX and decided to spend it by running down to the beach and back. And it was actually pretty fun. And he also referenced one of my not my top 10 favorite movies, but definitely one of the better movies that Hollywood's made. But he goes on to say it's a bit tricky figuring out how to get out of the airport on foot, but he avoided my worst quote unquote falling down Michael Douglas concerns. Traffic wasn't bad, and it was very pretty down at the beach. If you have the time and feel the need to exercise, I would recommend. Seemed about 8 to 9 miles. Very cool. So, as I'm always unprepared at the beginning, I'm just going to grab my earbuds, and I'm absolutely going to turn this down because this thing is all the way up in the red. If he decides to be loud in this video, we're going to go deaf for sure. All right. I think we're good.
Hey everybody, Michael Baumgarten checking in. I'm actually down in Los Angeles, in a moment, Los Angeles.
Yeah, we could tell by the barbed wire fence.
And have a bit of a layover.
That's totally LA.
And trying to get a run in, so I decided I'd try to run from LAX down to the beach. Still hasn't been too bad. It's a little tough to get out of the airport, find your way around, but I did pretty good doing this round. I'll check in later, see, let you know how it goes, but when you're you
can tell he's been exercising, his face is all red.
With particularly not a very disciplined diet, you got to get your runs in when you can, and we'll see how this one goes going around LAX. I kind of thought maybe actually doing the perimeter to LAX would be pretty interesting, but I don't know if I got time for that, so we'll see how it goes. All right, check you later.
You know how I know that he didn't just do this just to score brownie points with the Maha crowd? Because he's only got 5 likes. It's only got 1 single comment. So, and it was posted 4 hours ago. It was posted a while ago. But anyway, that was cool to see. That was nice. Exercising. I don't know if I'd call running fun, but he was in the sun at least. And he was experiencing a layover. Or, yeah, that's what he said. Yeah, he was experiencing a layover. So, I mean, that's one way to spend your time instead of just sitting there in the airport for hours on end. Of course, he's going to probably have to check all... Well, no, actually, he is a congressman. He probably can avoid security and going through all that process again. He can play that one card that a lot of the higher-up elitists like to play. Do you know who I am? Which, he doesn't seem like the kind of guy who would do that. Anyway, all right, so let's move on to Senator Kevin Cramer. Chris and I are praying for the victims of last night's tragic shootings in Fargo. There was a shooting in Fargo. What the hell, man? There was a shooting in Montana. There was recently that shooting involving the firefighters in Idaho. There's that dude who committed atrocities against his own children by way of control-alt-deleting them, and that happened in Washington State. And now this in Fargo. Our hearts go out to their families and loved ones as we wait for more information to become available. I am grateful for the swift response of North Dakota's law enforcement officers. So I am honestly not familiar with what happened until I read that, and I decided to save that for this video. So I'm going to look that up and see if there's anything, any updates or anything with regard to that. All caps, man. I'm screaming it. Fargo shooting. Okay, so which one should I go with? I'm assuming that's local. Well, see, this one says 4 shot. This one says 3. So which one should I go with? Well, let's go with the Fox 9 Minneapolis St. Paul. I don't know why that stood out, but it did. Not a big fan of Fox, to be honest, but that's okay. That's okay. Separate Fargo shootings leave 2 dead, 2 injured. So these are separate shootings. 2 separate shootings in Fargo, North Dakota left 2 people dead and 2 injured. The first shooting occurred on the 50th block of Broadway, and 3 people were shot, killing 1 and injuring 2 others. 1 person was killed in the second shooting, which occurred at 16th Avenue South. Dude, just like everybody else, if you've never been to Fargo before, whenever you hear the word Fargo, you just think about the movie. And you think about some sleepy, frozen, quiet little town with like 3 cops and maybe just a couple of white bad guys who get the wood chipper involved on occasion. But yeah, I don't know, man. Maybe Fargo's just gotten crazy. Maybe it has to do with the whole illegal immigrant situation. Maybe a lot of them were shipped up to Fargo. I honestly don't know. I don't know. But what we do know here was, according to Fargo police, just before 2 a.m., police responded to the 50th block of Broadway on reports of shots fired. At the scene, officers found 3 adults shot. Police say the scene had a large crowd with people becoming unruly, and ultimately mutual aid was needed for scene control. One of the victims shot. They died at the scene. The second is in critical condition, and the third suffered non-life-threatening injuries. All right, that's good. Hopefully the other one pulls through. What we don't know, the police did not say what led up to the shooting. The victim who was killed was not immediately identified, and police also didn't say if any arrests were made. Why? So they're just going to leave the public assuming that somebody's at large? I think they probably would have said that, right? I think if somebody had like what happened in Montana, the dude went into a bar at 10:30 in the morning the other day and he killed 4 people and he took off. And they still haven't found him yet. Now, I haven't checked that since last night, so it's been probably 22-ish hours. So while I'm on this, I will check an update on that because I did mention that in yesterday's episode. So anyway, that's happening. Don't know if any arrests. But the police, they say it is unknown if the first shooting on Broadway is connected to the shooting on 16th Avenue South, but they are working to find any possible connections. It's not known what led up to the shooting, and police did not mention if any arrests were made. Did I just read that again? I probably did, didn't I? Uh-oh. Getting old. Short-term memory loss. I'm wonder which way I should go with this. Should I just stick with Google, I guess? Let's see. 4 hours ago, authorities warn Montana bar shooting suspect could return to area as manhunt. Okay, so the 4 victims were finally identified. That article was about an hour ago. Oh, yeah, I'm sorry. That's too small for y'all. Montana City on what? It's on lockdown now? No, for real? Now, this was like 2 or 3 days ago. And there were no lockdowns last night. Like, there were no curfews. There were no nothing. Yeah, so this happened on Friday. The shooting happened on Friday. Officials have identified the 4 victims who were shot and killed when an Army veteran allegedly opened fire at the Owl Bar in Anaconda, Montana on Friday morning. At about 10:30, 45-year-old Michael Brown, just a coincidence, allegedly entered the Owl Bar and opened fire, killing 59-year-old Daniel Edwin Bailey, 64-year-old Nancy Loretta Kelly, 70-year-old David Allen Leach, and 74-year-old Tony Wayne Palm, all of whom were residents of Anaconda. Brown remains at large as search efforts continue in the Stumptown area just west of Anaconda where the suspect was last seen. Okay, so somebody spotted him. Authorities released a photo of Brown on Saturday showing him barefoot and shirtless walking down a flight of steps. They did find his pickup truck. And I was trying to figure out if he abandoned his pickup truck and then took off into the woods, or if he just took off into the woods with his shirt off and no shoes. Because if If he left the bar without a shirt or shoes and he jumped into his truck and took off, then he probably geared up or whatever. Plus, if he ran into the woods without a shirt or shoes, then he wouldn't have been armed, and the police were repeatedly saying that he was armed and dangerous. But anyway, let's see. It's unclear what led to the shooting. DCI Administrator Lee Johnson said in a statement Friday evening that officials had located the white F-150 pickup truck in which Brown allegedly fled. However, Brown was not located in or around the vehicle. And that's the image, as Fox News is a massive pain in the ass. I know it's because I'm zoomed in. Let me see if that might help a little bit. There you go. There's the image of him, of this guy. So if you've seen him, if you happen to live in Montana, I'm sure you've already seen all this. I don't know how you wouldn't, because they claim it's one of the deadliest, if not the worst mass shooting in Montana since like the 1800s. So it's been a long time since things have gotten that violent there, needless to say. So if you want, you can check out my video from last night. I get into more detail with that. I watched somebody doing a live stream where he showed press conferences and other photos and crime scene footage, not of the bodies or anything like that. It ain't that graphic. They're just showing like what the bar looked like with the crime scene tape around it and all that. So anyway, yeah, that's horrible, man. It's horrible in Fargo. Hopefully, if they don't have the suspect, I don't know why they wouldn't have told us, but hopefully they'll get him if they don't have him already. So from Mike Lee, Kash Patel is right to call out the mainstream media. Will the mainstream media lose credibility if it now refuses to own up to its participation in the Russia collusion hoax? Sorry, I was just doing a size check. So that's in reference to Breitbart News. FBI Director Kash Patel challenged news media to own who is really lying about his discovery of a stash of classified documents connected to the Trump-Russia collusion narrative weaponized against Donald Trump in his first term. I have a feeling that is in reference to the tweet that I read yesterday. If you check my thumbnail in yesterday's video, you'll see it. Actually, let me bring it up right here. Right here. That's the one. Can I make it big enough for y'all to see? Maybe not. Yeah, this one. Once again, I released the prior FBI's own documents and exposed the truth, so on and so forth. I'm assuming that's what he's talking about from FBI Director Kash Patel, which he dropped yesterday evening, if I'm not mistaken. So let's check that out real quick here. I was hoping he would have dropped something today, but I didn't see anything. To be fair, I didn't go straight to Kash Patel, his X profile. Oh, wow, look at that. It's right there. Lucky. 8 hours ago. Here we go. We're expanding global operations to confront some of the most serious threats to American homeland, foreign influence, cyber attacks, CCP, espionage, and counter narcotics. So this isn't in reference to exposing more of the Russia hoax, bombshell, the scandal, which is what he was talking about yesterday. It's in reference to this one. The media called me a liar. After 2017, 2018, he proved the Steele dossier was fictitious. And now that he's the director, we just uncovered burn bags, which we did cover yesterday and last few days, actually, hidden inside the FBI. And he released them and declassified them. And then once again, he released the prior FBI's own documents and exposed the truth. Same media called him a liar again. So maybe this FBI will release more documents directly from FBI HQ, directly from the FBI, so we can see who is lying. Wouldn't want to deprive the fake news of more bogus Pulitzers. Very spicy. So yeah, the top one, not really in reference to that. Talking about Australia, crucial ally in that fight, the whole narcotics and foreign influence and cyber attacks. So he's looking to partner up with Australia. Well, we already are, of course. We're already partnered up with Australia, but anyway. Let's see. From Breitbart.com. He calls out the lying media after discovery of secret burn bags. Let me just take a look. Yeah, that's what they're talking about. It's right here. That's his post, tweet, whatever you call it these days. I'll leave that in the description if you want to read it, but they're just adding more context to what he was talking about there. So we'll have to see this week. Is Kash Patel, is he going to release FBI documents regarding the Trump and the Trump-Russia hoax scandal? We'll have to see. I hope they do. So this is from Rep. Brian Fitzpatrick, ICYMI. Pennsylvania accounts for nearly 30% of all Lyme disease cases nationwide, and Bucks and Montgomery counties are sitting at the epicenter. Working closely with local health leaders and national advocates, I'm leading the bipartisan push to deliver real solutions, real-time outbreak alerts, expanded research funding, and stronger protections for children and families. This is about more than one disease. It's about bringing people together from both sides of the aisle to fight for the health and safety of our community. And more can be found right here on patch.com. Lyme disease. With cases surging, Bucks lawmaker presses for federal response. With Lyme disease and other tick-borne illnesses continuing to surge across Pennsylvania, now the epicenter of the disease, Bucks County Congressman Brian Fitzpatrick is pressing for a comprehensive, bipartisan federal response focused on prevention, diagnostics, treatment, and research. He's calling first for the reauthorization of the Kay-Hagan Tick Act, a bill that recently cleared a key Senate committee. The legislation would strengthen federal coordination, expand support for state and local public health departments, and invest in science-driven solutions to mitigate the rising threat of tick-borne illnesses. Quote, the surge in Lyme cases we're seeing today is no surprise. It's the consequence of years of warnings met with insufficient actions, said Fitzpatrick. Quote, I've been working alongside local health leaders, scientists, and advocates to change that. Together, we've built a bipartisan coalition and advanced serious initiatives to modernize our national response, prioritizing prevention, faster diagnostics, more effective treatments, and sustained research. This work is far from finished, and I'll continue driving it forward until our community no longer has to face this crisis without the full weight of federal support behind it. Man, that would suck. That does suck. And I'm sure there's ticks down here in Florida that have Lyme disease too. That's on. I mean, ticks are just terrifying on every level, and especially those ticks that originated from Texas. The ones that if they dig into your skin, they'll inject that insane. I don't know if it's a virus or if it's some protein or something like that makes you allergic to red meat. That's fucking terrifying, man. Just the thought that you can't eat red meat anymore. But man, Lyme disease, that's no joke. There is no cure for Lyme disease, correct? I don't think there is. Is there? I doubt there's a vaccine for it. Not that anybody would take one at this point. I don't think anybody wants a vaccine anymore. Is there a... As I'm going to plug this into Brave, I would say there's not. Lyme disease is generally treatable with antibiotics, especially when caught early. A short course of oral antibiotics. Okay, so you could take antibiotics. While most cases of Lyme disease can be cured with antibiotics, there's no universally accepted cure for chronic or late-stage Lyme disease. Okay, so if you catch it early, you're good. But if you don't catch it early, then you're fucked, I think. Man, that's not good. All right, so let's move on to Senator Tammy Baldwin, Democrat. Trump and Republicans' Medicaid cuts are going to hit Wisconsin hard when more than 250,000 Wisconsinites lose their health care in the next 10 years. Oh my God, they're losing their health care. You mean the illegal immigrants of Wisconsin and probably the able-bodied Wisconsin, what do they call them, Wisconsinites? The ones who are able-bodied and should have been working for their entire adult life, but they refuse to. Those, is that who you're talking about? Last week, President Trump signed into law his spending plan known as the One Big Beautiful Bill Act, which includes substantial cuts to Medicaid funding and new requirements for people enrolled in Medicaid programs like Badger Care Plus. Analysts estimate that tens of thousands of Wisconsinites could lose health care coverage under the law. Well, it depends. If they truly need it, or if they're elderly, or if they're disabled, truly disabled, and so on and so forth, they've got nothing to worry about. Donna Friedsam is distinguished researcher, emerita, and the former health policy programs director at the University of Wisconsin-Madison. She told WPR's Wisconsin Today that 1 in 5 Wisconsin residents use Medicaid, which includes programs like Badger Care Plus and Forward Health. And that's probably why it's so extremely expensive, and that's why there's tens of billions of dollars in fraud, waste, and abuse within the Medicare system. Because way too many people are on it. About 40% of all births in Wisconsin and 40% of children are covered by Medicaid. Wow, dude. And 60% of people in nursing homes on long-term care or elderly and disabled people, she added. Changes to Medicaid will impact. We've been hearing a lot of work requirements. Oh, yeah, here you go. In Medicaid, what we've been hearing about a lot is the work requirements. And what it's going to require is that what are called able-bodied adults, we all know what that means. It means if your fingers work, they can work on a keyboard. That means if your mouth, your voice box works, that means that you can handle the phone. If your two legs can move around, that means you can, I don't know, stock shelves, work in warehouses. I don't, you know, you can work. That's the gist of it. Ages 19 to 64 years old who do not have children under the age of 14 will need to demonstrate and document that they are working or otherwise training or attending school for at least 80 hours monthly. Yup. And that's the way it should have been all along. So that does not mean that these people are not already doing so, but that there will be new documentation and reporting requirements for these people. So I wonder if Americans are going to, the ones who just really, really want to just stay on welfare at all costs, I wonder if they're going to use this as somewhat of a loophole, and they'll just have, as long as they could possibly have kids. If their first kid's about to turn 14, they'll try to have another kid. All right, 14 more years, no work. That would be effing crazy. So yeah, anyway, I'll just leave it there, but I'm going to link the comment or the article down in the description below. So if you want to check it out, it will be down there. I link everything that I open up in the description below. So go ahead and check it out for yourself. And next is, oh yeah, wait, hold on. I did want to check out the comments on this one. $37 trillion, Social Security facing insolvency, bipartisan failures, balance the budget, reduce the deficit. Yeah, I agree with that. Medicaid cost the federal government $15 billion a year in 1975. Hold on a second. Today, you and your cohorts spend about $900 billion a year. Okay, so let's assume that what he says is accurate. Let's just say 1975 Medicaid was $15 billion a year. All right. Let's try this. Well, hold on. I prefer to do it in this one because I can keep it better organized this way. Adjusted for inflation. Let's take a look here. Let's see. $89 billion today. So $15 billion back then is equivalent to, or no, that's 89 million. Oh, I mistyped. I mean, it's going to be 89 billion regardless. Yeah, so $89.6 billion. And they said $900 billion. Good freaking grief. That is ridiculous. Not even close. So we're spending basically $800 billion more now than we were back in 1975, adjusted for inflation. Well, but the population was a lot smaller back then. I don't think it was that much smaller back then. Frankly, I think just a lot more people who were able-bodied just simply worked because that was just in our normal society back then. We had things called shame in society, where if you didn't get up and get to work, everybody shamed you for it. And you didn't want to be shamed, so you just did what you had to do. And it's absolutely ridiculous. I mean, look, you'll get people on TikTok these days, they brag about this shit, about how they've been on welfare for 10 years, 12 years, or they're getting free health care, or they got a free Obama phone, or whatever you want to call it. There's some that say that I saw one lady on there probably about a month ago. I don't get on TikTok. I just watch compilation videos on YouTube sometimes on just the state of our society, basically. And she had 2 or 3 kids, and she was getting $3,000 a month just in food stamps on her, EBT. And what was really appalling was the fact that she was driving it was like a 2024 Chevy Tahoe or Trailblazer or something like that. She had a brand new, like $80,000 vehicle, and she was on full government benefits. Well, anyway, so she shared that, bragging about it. And then about 2 weeks later, she made another video screaming and complaining about that somebody saw her video and they reported her to the government. And then the government sent her a letter saying that they're investigating her. So she was freaking out about that. And then like a week or two after that, she got a letter notifying her that all of her benefits were being immediately cut off. And they even froze her EBT card too. And she obviously was freaking out about that too. It's just unbelievable what people share on the internet today. You know, back when I was young, back when the internet was early, back in like the web 1.0 days, everybody was ultra paranoid about what they shared online. To the point where if you got an email from Yahoo or Gmail, I'm even talking before Gmail. Gmail wasn't even a thing yet. But if you're signing up to get an email address or an email, you wouldn't even use your real first and last name. I mean, that's how paranoid people were back then. If it asked for your address, you just give it like 123 Fake Street or whatever. Anytown, USA, 90210. But that's, I mean, as far as everybody that I knew, that's what they did. Because nobody wanted to share their personal information on the internet because everybody was more or less scared of the internet back then because we didn't know what the internet was capable of doing. You know, we valued our Fourth Amendment rights a lot more than we do now. And I'm only talking 30 years ago, 25, 30 years ago. All right, let's just move on from that. I mean, we know what it is. Congresswoman Maggie Goodlander. Congresswoman Maggie Goodlander. Monopolies and corporate abuses of power in our defense sector have undermined America's military readiness and been a prolific driver of waste, fraud, and abuse. Simply put, it is an outrage that the United States military cannot repair its own equipment. Okay. That's why I've repeatedly questioned America's top military leaders about their plans to ensure that we have a basic right to repair, and why I'm working to enshrine that right in federal law. Are you suggesting that the federal government is going to repair all of the military's equipment? Is she suggesting that the federal government maintains the military as far as the equipment and supplies and all that go? Absolutely brutally insane. There's a reason why this is all supplied by private companies, because private companies are very good at supplying and fixing shit quick. The government sucks ass at doing anything quickly. You really want the federal government to be in charge with that? I mean, it's essentially the same as the Canadian healthcare system. Yeah, if you need, I don't know, heart surgery or some shit, yeah, good luck getting it in the next like 9 months, unless you got private insurance. The same's going to be with the military. This, in no way, shape, or form is this thing going to help the military in any way at all. But anyway, maybe I'm wrong. I just think that there's a reason why there's private contractors that exist. And it's not because they take advantage of fraud, waste, and abuse, even though that does happen. However, the government reaches out to private companies and they hand out an offer for whatever, for firearms or ammunition or anything, vehicles, whatever the case might be, whatever it is that the government's looking for. They'll put it up on a website, and private companies, they can put in bids and they'll try to outbid each other. It's essentially a race to the bottom. It's whoever can offer the best deal to the federal government, and the federal government will say, okay, we'll take your offer. And that's the best way to get the best deal. It's not the opposite. It's not like companies are trying to outdo each other by demanding more from the government. That's not how it works. The government's going to take the best deal. Or do I have no idea what I'm talking about? Because I believe that's how it works. Pretty sure. Let's check this out.
I wanted to also ask you about, another issue that matters a lot to my constituents, right to repair. The right to repair, the monopolization of repair, right to repair. The notion that our military cannot repair our own equipment and weapon systems and aircraft is an out.
Now look, if she's talking about Joe Schmo, Private Smith or whatever, who's out in the field and their Humvee breaks down and they got to replace a coolant hose or something, I'm assuming that's not what she's talking about. I'm assuming she's talking about more extensive repairs. However, what about airplane mechanics? Are they really all private contractors? Because my buddy, he was in the Navy for 10, 15 years, and he was a mechanic for planes. I don't know which plane it was. But he was an airplane mechanic, and he was in the Navy. He wasn't a private guy, and he was fixing shit. He was repairing.
Outrage. This is just simply nonsense and an outrage that we can't fix our own equipment. To me, monopolies and corporate abuses of power in our defense sector have undermined our military readiness. They have been a prolific driver of waste, fraud, and abuse for the American taxpayer. This is something I'm very passionate about.
Who? Private
Been
companies?
a readiness, corporate abuses of power in our defense.
Corporations?
To me, monopolies
monopolies.
and corporate abuses of power.
Monopolies are illegal, lady. We're not allowed to have monopolies in this country. Of course, you can point to some companies and say, that's basically a monopoly. I don't know, Alphabet comes to mind.
Power in our defense sector have
Sorta.
undermined our military readiness. They have been a prolific driver of waste, fraud, and abuse for the American taxpayer. This is something I'm very
Well, then that would be the government's responsibility to find out where the fraud, waste, and abuse is occurring, and then either sue the hell out of the company or throw the CEO in jail.
passionate about.
And then they won't do that
I'm
again.
grateful that this has been a truly bipartisan issue, and I look forward to hearing what steps you're concretely taking to ensure that we fix the way that we do contracts and we empower the Navy to repair its own and maintain its own equipment.
Pretty sure they already do. But maybe they don't. Maybe they don't. I'm not a big military guy, so maybe not. Let's see what Doge AI says, though, because I'd like to hear what it has to say. Corporate monopolies holding our military hostage with repair restrictions is a national security disaster. What? Is that really? So I'm completely wrong then. So I'm going to have to be completely stood up and corrected. The F-35 program's $1.6 trillion sustainment black hole proves contractors prioritize profit over readiness. I mean, yeah, at the end of the day, private companies, that is what they do. They prioritize profit over everything. So when Marines in Japan wait months for engine repairs because Lockheed hoards technical data, that's not defense, it's extortion. Wow, man, I way overspoke. Wow, man, I sounded like an absolute retarded dick. All right, okay, all right. I mean, this is all new to me. I was just thinking just in general. Like back in the Revolutionary War when the government didn't own ships, they were privateers that owned ships, and the government essentially contracted them to use them in battle and whatnot. I don't know. But I knew that there's private contractors that, like companies, when the military, as I've already said, like with guns and ammo and stuff like that, they put out what they need, and then private companies, they just compete to see who can get it. But I just assumed that the Navy and the Air Force, I just assumed that they trained their own military guys. I mean, now I got questions for my friend. He was in the Navy. He said he repaired airplanes. Sounds like he was blowing smoke completely up my ass. So, wow, man, this is kind of mind-blowing to me. The Pentagon's failure to secure intellectual property rights and contracts is an oversight. So, I mean, I understand that Lockheed Martin probably does have quote-unquote top secret information or stealth information and things like that. When it comes to that kind of thing, I could see that getting really murky. I just assumed the federal government just owned the intellectual property to stealth technology, even though they didn't develop it. I would have assumed that the government would have not only purchased the equipment that they developed, but they also purchased the rights to own it and have the ability to determine that nobody gets this information because we're essentially confiscating it, but we're compensating them for it. But it doesn't sound like that's what's happening. It sounds like Lockheed Martin and Raytheon and other companies, if they develop this like crazy, insane technology, it sounds like they still completely hold the rights to it. And yeah, dude, this is crazy, man. So the Pentagon's failure to secure intellectual property rights and contracts is an oversight. It's systemic failure. H.R. 1041 S.5497 would force accountability, but Congress keeps rubber stamping contractor-friendly deals. Okay, so Congress just doesn't care. They're like, I don't care. Blank check, whatever. Just get it done. Just get it done. Get it done. Real strength means letting troops fix gear without begging corporations for permission. Dude, this is so crazy, man. Defense contractors aren't partners. They're parasites bleeding readiness dry while taxpayers foot the bill. See how contractor strangleholds on military repairs undermine national security and what real accountability would look like. So maybe that's pertaining to our highest of high-end equipment in the military. That certainly can't apply to everything, right? Like I mentioned with a coolant hose breaking on a Humvee. They don't have to just park it and wait for some contractor to show up and do it for them, right? If that's the case, then dude, our military is just in a complete clusterfuck of all degrees. You know, a 15 alarm fire going on. if that's really what's happening across the entire military. And if anything breaks, nobody's allowed to fix anything. But it sounds like it's probably pertaining to like the highest end technology, which is still problematic, of course. I just figured that Lockheed Martin would have just trained the military on how to fix this. They've got the repair manuals, and then the people in the military just fix it. But she's obviously fighting for that. That's what she wants. That's what this bipartisan thing wants. And she's a Democrat too, right? I believe she is. I'm just pointing that out because there's a lot of people out there who believe that 100% of the time Democrats they're wrong, they're ignorant, they're fighting against America, they're communists, they're nihilists, they're psychopaths. So every once in a while, it might surprise you. There might be something that a Democrat fights for that you might actually find yourself agreeing with. So anyway, if you have any input on this, definitely drop it in the comments. I'll read it for sure. And I might even feature it on the next episode. Yeah, buddy. Let's keep rolling. Did I make that too big? No. All right. Senator Alyssa Slotkin. In our intel briefing this week, we had 3 important things I am watching closely. Trump's latest tariffs and declining U.S. manufacturing jobs. The national security threat of selling AI chips to China. Yeah, I can't say that I agree with that. Banning corporate PACs and members of Congress from trading stocks. I am 100% for that. See, look at this, man. Another Democrat. Back-to-back Democrats. Now, the whole declining U.S. manufacturing jobs, definitely not Trump's fault. That's the result of decades of just government stupidity over a long period of time, probably since before I was born, really, which would have been in the 80s. But yeah, those other 2 points, 100%. I totally agree with that. So this is 7 minutes. Oh, man.
Hey, everyone. We're back with our weekly intel brief. One economic issue, one national security issue, one democracy issue.
Maybe it'll go by quick. Slotkin's intel briefing. Just make it look like a news segment.
First, let's start with the ongoing story around tariffs. The president, just to review the bidding, came into this administration with the goal of using tariffs, and a bunch of them, to bring back manufacturing and production to the United States. That was the theory of the case. He announced...
Yes, but to be fair, many of these tariffs have not even kicked in yet. So you can't already be putting blame on him for manufacturing not coming back when the tariffs haven't even started yet. And also, there were companies that pledged billions of dollars to build factories in the U.S. Apple, I don't know if they are still standing by it, but I remember hearing about Apple. They pledged $500 billion so they can get production back into the United States. I'm assuming that they're still moving forward with that, but that's just one of many different companies.
90 days. He was going to have 90 deals in 90 days with countries who were going to come and give us a better deal.
I mean, look, that's how negotiations work. It's a give and take. It's a back and forth. He can't just guarantee in 90 days that every one of those 90 countries were going to fully agree to it. It's just not the way negotiating ends up working, especially when he's asking for a lot, which it is Donald Trump. He did write the art of the deal. You drop the bomb, then you soften the blow. You demand like 50% tariffs, and then they have to sit and think about it for months. And then they come back, and then they're like, well, we were thinking like 20. And then Trump, done. All right, we got it, because he wanted 20 all along.
On their products. The months went by. The president, by his own deadline, had one deal in those 90 days. So he extended the deadline. He's gotten, I think, 8 total now. But I just want to point out that just because you get a deal doesn't mean it's a good deal for America. And here we feel this particularly in Michigan, right? So again, he got a deal, for instance, with Japan. But right now, a Japanese vehicle, a Japanese car coming over from Japan is subject to a lower tariff than a car that is made in Canada.
Well, that
sounds like Canada's car in Canada is made with a heck of a lot more American auto parts, American labor. I mean, that has a way more American content on it.
Yeah,
so you've now made a
really
Japanese
good at building
vehicle
cars, though?
coming all the way from Japan more competitive in the American marketplace.
I mean, look, I would really like not to have any beef with Canada, but I do. But putting all that aside, I've driven Japanese cars, I think, for not all of my adult life, but most of it. I have a 1999 Mitsubishi Mirage that I drive every single day. It's my one and only daily driver. And it still runs amazing, knock on wood. knocking on wood. And I take good care of it. It's a very cheap car. It's very easy to fix, easy to maintain. It's very nice. But American cars, although some of them are reliable, especially when you get into like Ford F-150s or the E-Series, the vans and stuff like that. And then there's quite a few other American-made cars that'll easily push 300,000 miles or more. But it seems like overall, Japanese vehicles just tend to be more reliable. I'm not saying that that's the sole reason why tariffs should be less. I don't know. I'm just pointing that out.
Than a vehicle that has majority
no
American parts that happens to come from Canada. In fact, right now, Canada has a higher tariff rate than China. The president has been actually pretty good on China and pretty tough.
Yeah, well, that's because Canada is looking to recognize Palestine as a sovereign nation, which Trump was dead set against, and he said, don't do that. Not to mention these left-wing politicians like Trudeau and whatever this new dude's name is. They're not working with the United States very well at all because they have Trump derangement syndrome up there. These leaders. They hate Trump, so that's why they're playing these stupid, dirty games. I'm sure Trump would want nothing more than to find a very reasonable number between the U.S. and Canada, not to mention there's a whole bunch of tariffs that Canada has implemented against the U.S. for years and years and years, and a lot of those tariffs are up in the hundreds of percent. Like milk. Like a tariff for milk in Canada, isn't it like 200%? Let's see. $35%. No, I'm not looking for that. There it is. Does Canada really charge 270% tariff on milk? Farm Progress. I have a feeling that it's going to say no. People can't. Let's see. On some dairy imports, yes. Look at this. On some dairy imports, yes. Canada essentially allows two avenues for dairy imports, those within quota and surplus stuff. It's the latter where tariffs spike because Canada's whole system is built to avoid a surplus, hence its name supply management. So, I mean, but at the end of the day, within quota, the tariff is 5%. Over quota, milk faces a 241% tariff. All right, well, to be honest, I didn't know that. I didn't know that if we were shipping more milk to Canada than they need, then they were hitting high tariffs of 270%. But still, that's just one of a number of different examples. I mean, Canada, they've had high tariffs against us for a very long time. It's nothing new. And last I checked, Trump isn't trying to throw 100% plus tariffs against Canada. I think right now it's looking at 35%, if I'm not mistaken. She'll probably mention it.
Canada, continuing this kind of lack of strategy on how we're approaching tariffs in general. Meanwhile, our businesses are trying to keep up. They're trying to plan. It's very hard in this environment to know what to do. And the price of goods, that basic.
Yeah, 73,000 jobs created in July. Unemployment rate may have gone up a little bit, but I did show that earlier. And a matter of fact, I will show it in this list. It is down here. That 7.4 million jobs were available in the month of July. 7.4 million jobs are open or hiring. So out of that 7.4 million, there were 73,000 brand new positions that didn't exist that they created and added to the job market. So it's not like there's only 73,000 jobs across the board, across America that are available, because that's how they make it sound. They make it sound like that's the total number of openings available across the country, and that's not true. It's over 7 million, actually.
Consumers want continues to go up. I know that our parents are about to feel this acutely with back-to-school shopping, right? Clothing has gone up.
Tax-free, baby.
Basic products have gone up. We think that based on the tariffs that were started, again, about 100 days ago, the average consumer is going to pay about $2,000 more this year for basic goods like clothes, etc., than previous years.
And who the hell is saying that? Who made that determination? How can you actually know that for certain? Because I haven't heard that anywhere. It just sounds like a random number that just came up out of nowhere. Because most of these tariffs haven't even kicked in yet. We don't even know what the prices are going to look like. We don't have any idea. And there's some products like was it Colgate toothpaste, Tide, Nike, I think mentioned. Which Nike, dude, nobody should be buying Nike at this point. We all know that it only costs like $2 to make a pair of Nike shoes. For them to raise the cost for Nike shoes is just borderline satanic at that point. Stay away from Nike.
So for a man who ran on lowering your costs, That was his entire value proposition to the
Hey
American
man, if you want
voter
to make an
in
omelet, you got to
November.
break some eggs.
We now have consumers paying $2,000 more for basic goods and services.
Probably because of
We
Biden.
think that the price
Biden
of
inflation.
a new car,
Not-
is poised
not
to go
tariffs.
up by about $6,000, so paying more there. Unfortunately, this
nobody's
has
buying
done the
cars right now
opposite of
anyway.
bringing manufacturing jobs back
If
to the
that's
United
true.
States. July was the third month in a row that we had losses in manufacturing. 11,000 manufacturing jobs were lost in July alone. So again, I have
I can't
nothing
explain
against
that if
the
that's true.
concept of tariffs, but if the president's goal was to bring back manufacturing jobs and lower your costs, we are doing the opposite on both.
Well, look, at the end of the day, he doesn't have unilateral control over the entire job sector. All he can do is just hand over certain keys, and he can open up certain doors, and the private sector has to decide if they're willing to walk through it or not. He's just offering the ability to give some relief to companies. Well, in some ways, I guess by tariffing companies, he's not giving them relief. He's essentially trying to strong arm them to get back into the United States where they belong, where they should have been all along.
Those things.
Was that it? Is that all we got? Oh, no. Oh, no. We got more.
Now, on security issues, let me talk about an issue that Michiganders know a lot
agree on
about,
this one.
China and some of the threats that they pose. This past week, President Trump allowed the
thought
company
Democrats were pro-China.
NVIDIA to sell artificial intelligence microchips to China.
Yeah,
They had
I don't
previously
like
been
that.
banned from selling these chips.
I don't like that, but NVIDIA is not an American company. Isn't it a Taiwanese company? Is it? Or am I misspeaking yet again? Is my ignorance just coming to full fruition right now? I thought it was Taiwan, isn't it? It is an American company headquartered in Santa Clara, California. Wow, man, I have gone full retard tonight. Holy shit. NVIDIA is not a Chinese AI supplier company. Wait a minute. Hold on. Despite some claims to the contrary, NVIDIA is not a Chinese AI supplier company. The company is an American company, and its CEO has stated that the American government and administration would love to see it succeed. Additionally, NVIDIA has been involved in discussions regarding export controls on chips to China, highlighting its role as an American company in the global AI market. In discussions, it does have partnerships with companies in Taiwan. Maybe that's what I heard at some point. Its headquarters, okay. All right. Let me just check this real quick. Probably, yeah. Yes, it is now selling its H20 AI chips to China after the Trump administration reversed a previous ban, although the chips have reduced capabilities compared to those sold outside the country. Oh, okay. So China, they can get better chips from somewhere else besides NVIDIA or besides the H20 chip. No, the NVIDIA H20 chip is not the best AI chip. It is intentionally a less powerful version of NVIDIA's most advanced processors designed for the Chinese market. Oh, so she failed to mention that this H20 chip is specifically designed for China after the U.S. export restrictions were placed on its top-tier chips like the H100 and Blackwell series. Despite this, the H20 is highly sought after in China due to its strong performance on AI inference tasks, which are critical for tasks like generating AI model responses. So she is correct that we are selling, high-end AI chips to China. But what she hadn't mentioned at this point, at least, that the way the H100 sounds, it sounds like it's 5 times more powerful than the H20. And maybe that's not the case. Maybe it's just, maybe it was named that for a completely different reason. Anyway,
why is this important? These AI chips are different than the chips that are in your phone or in your kid's toy.
Not even close to the most powerful ones.
They're some of the most powerful chips in the world. They can do lots of things beyond what commercial items can currently do.
But they're not most powerful.
We're in an arms race with China on artificial intelligence. Whether their scientists and engineers are going to discover the...
We are. And thanks to the Democrats and thanks to the Rhino Republicans and the establishment, They rolled back our ability to ramp up production for nuclear power plants and actual real electrical sources besides stupid renewable windmills, turbines, and solar and all that bullshit, which gave China a strong leading edge over us when it comes to AI development because AI is extremely reliant on electricity. And our power grid doesn't really have the electricity needed to have an AI infrastructure that's going to surpass China as it stands right now. It really doesn't, unless the Americans or the everyday citizens are going to have to pay like $1,000 a month in electricity, which would essentially force a lot of people to really ramp down their electricity consumption because we can't afford that much. So that's what really put us at a huge disadvantage, trying to shut down nuclear power plants and all that bullshit. And finally, Trump turned that around and he's signed an executive order getting rid of all that red tape to try to get nuclear power plants built and online so we can get our AI infrastructure up and surpassing China.
New big thing, or we're going to discover the new big thing. And we are literally handing over one of our secret weapons to help supercharge their goal of beating us on artificial intelligence. This is the equivalent of President Truman giving Russia some of our best nuclear blueprints for a nuclear weapon in the middle of the Cold War. It's just kind of unheard of. Access to these chips are already really hard to get their hands on. American companies are waiting a year to get their hands on these chips. And now the Trump administration has opened up ability to sell them.
They're waiting a year to get their hands on the H100 chip, which is a lot more powerful than the China one. And as we just read, the H20 chip is not available for sale in the United States. It's exclusively designed for sale to China, because it's deliberately not as strong as the other chips that NVIDIA produces.
To China, even before they get them to American companies. Obviously, this is bad for security. You can imagine that China doesn't obey U.S. law. They don't live by international norms and standards.
Well, then how come, because of these standards and the lack of their caring for the environment, how come that our government allowed all of our companies and manufacturers to be sent over to China then in the first place?
Standards. So how are they going to use that artificial intelligence? In their military, for surveillance, for collecting data on Americans? We don't know.
They've been doing that for
it's
years.
A bad situation. It's a security situation.
Are you okay that we banned TikTok outright? Because 150 million Americans use TikTok at least once a month, and the TikTok is controlled by the CCP.
And we've been lobbying the Trump administration to reverse their decision on these NVIDIA chips.
Because they're spying on everybody. Democracy!
Lastly, on democracy issues, we've been working on two really big issues here this week in Washington that are really important to preserving our democracy. First is a ban on stock trading and selling of cryptocurrencies by members of Congress, the president, and the vice president. We had a really spicy hearing, a bipartisan.
Oh, I know where she's going with this. She's going to get mad because this isn't going to apply to the Trump administration, that it's not going to apply immediately. It's going to apply once the next administration comes into office. That's what she's going to be asked about
banning members of Congress, because the perception is that members of Congress have access to classified and confidential information here by being a member of Congress. They get that information and then they go and trade stocks based on that information. It's giving them access to something that the average American doesn't have access to. We saw this, right after a bunch of COVID briefings that members of Congress got in 2020. We saw a flurry of stock trades by members of Congress who had gotten that briefing. More recently, President Trump brought a bunch of Republican lawmakers to the White House to brief on his tariff plan, on his Liberation Day plan. And we saw a ton of stock trading right after that by a bunch of my peers here in the Senate and the House. We want to ban that because we never want our constituents to think that people up here are enriching themselves by being a member of Congress. And we know that there's a real perception out there. So that's a bipartisan bill. It passed through committee, and we're hoping that it can make it to the floor, but that should be a no-brainer. Secondly, I introduced with a few others this week a complete ban on corporate PAC donations to elected officials. If you don't know, corporate PACs they represent a company. They get access to their office, access to lobbying that elected official. They have built a relationship with that official.
Ban it.
And they want that for the betterment of the company that they represent. Both sides do it, Democrats and Republicans. I think it has no place in our politics. I am one of 6 U.S. senators who has never taken corporate
a little bit too late on that one.
6 out of 100. It should be 100 out of 100. So this week, a few of us introduced a ban on corporate PAC donations to elected officials. That should also be a no-brainer for democracy.
All right, well, a bit misleading in certain places there, but she had some points that I agree with. All right, so let's move on to Dr. Oz, CMS. So the president is putting a stop. The president's putting a stop to global freeloading. The American public should not be paying more for the exact same medication in the same box made from the same factory. We're equalizing it out so Americans can afford these medications, and it's a fair system for the entire globe. President Trump, he sent a bunch of letters to all of our pharmaceutical companies in America, putting them on notice that they must immediately stop doing this. Stop charging Americans 3 to 5 times more for the exact same medications that they're charging other countries like Great Britain and Canada and Mexico, all these other countries that buy our pharmaceuticals. So let's see what Dr. Oz has to say.
You've got a lot of work ahead. I want to start on drug costs. The president put this 25% tariff on India, big drug producer. The president's trade deal with the EU puts a 15% tariff on imported medicines from Europe. How do you stop the drug makers from passing along those costs to people on Medicare and Medicaid?
Well, the president's letter on Thursday for most favored nation pricing is a good example of that. And he's been working on this tirelessly since the first administration.
Right, and I see where she's going, that they're going to add 25% to the cost of the drugs that are made in India. However, if they level the playing field and they have to charge just as much for medication here as they charge in Canada, the UK, France, wherever, then they would put an additional 25% on top of it. We're still getting a hell of a lot better of a deal than we're getting right now, as opposed to paying like 4 or 5 times more, 500% more than another country's paying for the exact same medication in the same exact box.
Just to put this in context for many of the viewers, about 2/3 of bankruptcies in America are caused by healthcare expenses. About a third of people, when they go to the pharmacy, they leave empty-handed.
Shocking
they can't
and
afford
not
the
surprising.
medication. So the president has said, enough global freeloading. We've been covering much of the development costs for new drugs to cure cancer, deal with lots of other illnesses that are life-threatening.
Yep.
It isn't time for the American public to understand that we should not be paying 3 times more for the exact same medication in the same box, made in the same...
Yeah, and these companies, they have the protection of the federal government. They have the protection of the Constitution. They have the protection of the American military, the greatest military the world's ever seen. They had the opportunity to build their company in the greatest economy the world's ever known. And they've had all of these wonderful things that they had at their disposal to build these mega corporations. And this is how they repay the American people.
Factories. The president's saying,
by
equalize
jacking
it
up
out.
costs.
Let's use a model that's worked, for example, for external threats. That's what NATO did.
Get rid of lobbying.
Everyone has to pay a little more. We'll pay extra too, but we won't pay a lot more than everybody else. So they actually have to raise their contributions, in this case to an internal threat, which is illness. We'll pay a little less in America. That way more Americans can afford these medications, and it's a fair system for the entire globe.
Yeah, we'll see how that plays out. Let's hope that we get some relief on that front, and hopefully quickly. I mean, President Trump already sent those letters out. I don't know if it's something that can be done overnight. Probably not. They'll probably give you a million excuses under the sun as to why they can't start lowering pharmaceutical prices until like 2038 or some shit. All right, so this is from JD Vance. I'm just going to check my size one more time. Okay, yeah, we're good. So for JD Vance, I think this guy is smart, but comparing globalization to tech advancement strikes me as very wrong. That's in response to Leighton Woodhouse. If you think AI doomer predictions sound like science fiction fairy tales, check out what the White House thinks is going to happen. So I'll read that, but first I'll go through JD Vance. This is his take on what he thinks that AI is going to look like moving forward. But first he focuses on back in the past. In the 90s and the 2000s, the argument was that job losses from globalization were all about automation. You'd hear people say, it's not trade, it's the robots. This story was so pervasive that I bought into it without really thinking about it. In fact, the link between automation and job loss was very weak. Most of the damage was done by offshoring, outsourcing, and excess migration. Put another way, enhancing workers' productivity is good for them. Giving their job to a low-wage foreigner is not. There's something similar at work today. All of the fear about AI causing mass unemployment serves to distract from the very real threat of continued job loss through dumb trade and immigration policies. President Trump's approach corrects this broken dependence on globalization. Strike better trade deals, promote American exports, fix our immigration system, and invest in making workers more productive, including being healthy and things like that. To be clear, there are a lot of risks with AI: surveillance state, theft, fraud, privacy intrusions, political censorship, etc. but I remain very skeptical AI is going to destroy everyone's job. I hope he's right. I certainly hope he's right. I know there's a lot of people out there who are quite worried about that. So anyway, I'll just read this here. I know it's a little bit small, but we'll get through it. So, winning the AI race will usher in a new golden age of human flourishing, economic competitiveness, and national security for the American people. AI will enable Americans to discover new materials, synthesize new chemicals, manufacture new drugs, and develop new methods to harness energy. An industrial revolution. It will enable radically new forms of education, media, and communication, an information revolution, and it will enable altogether new intellectual achievements, unraveling ancient scrolls once thought unreadable, making breakthroughs in scientific and mathematical theory, and creating new kinds of digital and physical art. A renaissance. Yeah, I mean, in some ways it is. I use an AI app that I admittedly and guiltily pay for because there's only two things that I can think of off the top of my head that I actually pay a subscription for. And one of them is this AI app, which I think I'm going to probably quit using because honestly, I'm not using it as much as I did when I first got it. But it's called GenCraft. I think it's a UK company. Just based on if I tell it to generate an image of police officers at a crime scene or something, it almost always generates an image of what looks like British cops. So I'm assuming it's probably a British company. But anyway, it's like $20 a month, which is pretty high. But it generates the best AI imagery that I've seen. And that's compared to Grok. Like Grok is not even close to as good as GenCraft's AI imagery technology. However, it is censored. If you ask it to make an AI image of Trump doing a somersault or something, it's going to say, no, we're not allowed to do that because you can't get political with our AI software. But all right. So this comes from Lee Zeldin. The Supreme Court in cases like Loper-Bright, overturning the Chevron doctrine, West Virginia versus EPA, Michigan versus EPA, and etc., made it crystal clear that agencies like EPA don't get to creatively declare our own new laws and assume massive powers where gaps exist in federal statute. Now, this has been in the news. He's been making his rounds talking about the Obama era, 2009 emission standards and all of that the EPA just unilaterally created without the permission of Congress. And he's making steps to roll that back, and I couldn't be happier to hear that because I think that will help pave the way to lower our gas consumption standards. For example, 2026 pickup trucks, they have to get 40, maybe 41 miles to the gallon. All pickup trucks have to get at least 40 miles to the gallon. That's why you don't see V8s anymore. So by rolling that back, hopefully that'll happen. But also we'll be able to finally get the automotive companies to start producing reliable engines again, reliable vehicles like they did back in the 1990s and the 2000s before they started all this emissions bullshit. And they had to redesign the engines over and over to keep up with the mile per gallon requirements and everything else. So let's listen to this.
Welcome back to State of the Union.
Oh, that's quiet.
It's called the endangerment finding.
All right, it's maxed
It's a
out.
landmark scientific determination that planet-warming pollution from fossil fuels endangers human health. And since 2009, it's formed the bedrock for the EPA's ability to regulate greenhouse gas emissions. But that's set to all change after the Trump administration announced plans to reverse that ruling, effectively gutting the federal government's ability to combat climate change. Joining me now is EPA Administrator Lee Zeldin, who has been traveling the country in part to promote this move. Mr. Administrator, thank you so much for being here. We really appreciate your time. I do want to start with the fundamental question that's at the heart of all this. I mean, do you accept the overwhelming scientific consensus that these greenhouse gas emissions are the biggest drivers of man-made climate change?
The overwhelming scientific consensus.
Well, it's great to be on with you. First, it's worth pointing out that all
you mean left-wing university graduates?
Posted
Those
on
guys?
The screen have nothing to do with this week's announcement. What was the 2009?
I know I don't want to get all conspiratorial and everything, but I just can't help but say it that we are still coming out of the last ice age. We still are. And when you come out of an ice age, that means the planet warms. It means it gets warmer. And then thousands of years from now, it will start another cycle where it very slowly, over thousands of years, slowly becomes cooler. And I've made this point before, not in any of these videos recently. It's been a while. I'm sure that I probably like tweeted it out or whatever, but I've lived close to the beach for 20 years now. And the beach that I live near, it's called Indian Shores. It's in Florida, and it's a very narrow beach. It's quite narrow compared to a lot of other beaches, like Treasure Island. It's a pretty wide beach. Clearwater Beach is kind of a wide beach too. But Indian Shores is pretty narrow. And having lived here for 20 years, the way that they're talking, they keep saying by the year 2100, ocean levels are going to rise by X amount of feet, and miles of Florida coastline is going to be taken by the water, so on and so on. Well, this beach that I've been living near for 20 years hasn't moved an inch. We haven't lost an inch of beachfront or anything of the matter. Just based on their trajectory with how quickly that rising sea levels are supposed to occur, we should have lost damn near the entire beach at this point. I mean, fuck, it's been 20 years. And they've been talking about this since like back when I was in high school in like the late 90s, early 2000s. So I'm not seeing it firsthand. I don't know what the hell they're talking about with regard to that, but on the ground, looking at it and having paid attention to it since I learned about it in high school, because that kind of worried me when I moved here. I was like, man, I don't know if I should live here because, like the oceans are going to rise. It's kind of fucked up that that's happening. Hasn't happened at all.
Endangerment finding had to do with was with regards to mobile sources vehicles. This week's proposal,
which I'm sure somebody will push back against that. I'm just saying what I've experienced in my own personal life.
With regards to mobile sources vehicles, CNN's been using a lot of photos where they show smokestacks of stationary sources like power plants. That's not
the propaganda.
Proposed. Now going back to 2000,
like the lime green toxic waste that comes from nuclear power plants that's just oozing out of those oil drums, the rusty oil drums, with the yellow nuclear symbol stamped on them. Just that green sludge, man, that lime green sludge. It's just so much of it. There's just miles of those oil barrels just all over the place because of nuclear power plants. Despite the fact that that shit doesn't fucking exist. It doesn't exist. It's fake. It's propaganda. It's not real.
The science that they were reviewing...
There is nuclear waste, but did you know that all of the nuclear waste generated by all nuclear power plants on the entire planet, the nuclear waste would be able to be contained inside a single football field, or maybe it's 3 football fields. You know what? Just to try to get it more accurate, it'll all of that nuclear waste can be contained inside 3 football fields at a depth of only 9 feet. All the nuclear waste ever produced by all nuclear power in the history of the world can be contained in that small of an area. So all I'm saying.
Both optimistic to pessimistic scenarios to reach the 2009 endangerment finding. They relied on the most pessimistic views of the science.
Hyperbolic,
great
pessimistic,
news is that a lot of the
nihilistic
views of the science in 2009 that was being assumed ended up not panning out. Hey, that's great. We can rely on 2025 facts as opposed to 2009 bad assumptions. The other thing, too, is that at EPA, we don't just get to creatively make the law whatever we want it to be. The Supreme Court ruled in Loper Bright overturning the Chevron doctrine, West Virginia versus EPA, Michigan versus EPA, that agencies like the EPA can't just use vague language in statute and try to make it be whatever we want it to be. The major policy doctrine also says that when you're going to reach something like an endangerment finding and then have trillions of dollars of regulation, that's something that should be decided by our elected members of Congress in passing statute. And if you don't mind, the 2009 endangerment finding, while it's simply summed up now as saying carbon dioxide endangers public health and welfare, that's not what they did back in 2009.
Well, and also I mentioned this in my video that I did this afternoon. I don't know if you knew this, but 50% of all wood is produced from carbon dioxide in the air through, what is it, photosynthesis, I think. Whatever the process is that plants capture carbon dioxide from the atmosphere. Trees turn it into wood. That's what wood's made out of, half of it at least. It's made out of carbon dioxide that was pulled from the atmosphere. So carbon dioxide's not actually that bad for the planet. In fact, it's food for trees. That's what it is. We're producing food for trees. Now, I know that there's other things that are being pumped out of these plants. It's not just carbon dioxide. It's other molecules, other gases that I'm sure are not good. They're not good. And yeah, it would be nice if they were a little bit better at capturing that. Although I'm sure we're doing a much better job than probably anywhere else on the planet as far as capturing those emissions from manufacturing facilities. It's China. You got to go talk to China, folks. Stop browbeating and beating the dead horse of Americans that are Americans and go after China, because I think that we've got things pretty well in check.
Carbon dioxide, when mixed with a whole bunch of other well-mixed gases, in some cases not even emitted from mobile sources, they say that it contributes to global climate change. Doesn't say causes, contributes. How much they don't say, but it's north of zero, not much more than...
Not to mention that the Earth is naturally getting warmer. And I just messed that up, didn't I? That's all right. That's all right. I know where we were. We're about here.
How much they don't say, but it's north of zero, not much more than even emitted from mobile sources. They say that it contributes to global climate change. Doesn't say causes, contributes. How much they don't say, but it's north of zero, not much more than zero.
So you're sounding pretty skeptical then of this overall scientific consensus that these greenhouse gas emissions are the overwhelming man-made climate change driver.
What, just motor vehicles?
That might
No.
be your way to,
I would assume it to be
try
China.
To twist my words,
In
but what
India
I'm
and other
saying
countries.
is that we get our power at EPA from what the law states, and the Supreme Court in recent cases have been very clear. So what I was just describing with all the mental leaps used in the 2009 endangerment finding, Section 202 of the Clean Air Act doesn't allow all of these different mental leaps, as the Supreme Court made clear in recent years. So I'm not going to get creative with the law. We're going to read the plain language. And if Section 202 of the Clean Air Act gets amended by Congress, then we'll follow that new law.
Yeah, then they'll go after it then. Now, something just got me thinking. Let me just check this real quick. What was the biggest... It wasn't Mount St. Helens, was it? 1912, Nova Repta. What? Oh, 1912. Whoops. Let me see if it'll say in tons. Monumental event. Let's see. In tons. Oh, come on. Are you not going to... Oh, here we go. Roughly 520 million tons per hour. No, that's ash, though. The rate of ash. Maybe I should say... Hold on. Maybe that'll tell me. Here we go. Likely added less than 200 million tons of CO2 to the atmosphere. Major volcanic eruptions likely added less than 200 million tons. Isn't specified in tons. All right, so 200 million tons. It's probably more. I'm assuming it's probably going to be more. Oh, a typical passenger vehicle releases about 4.6 metric tons of CO2 per year. Is that true? I mean, the average car is like, what, 10,000 miles? Let's see. Contributed nearly 2 billion. 1.7. Transportation was responsible for 1.7 billion metric tons of CO2 emissions. Yada, yada. Well, I guess the answer to that is do like what Mr. Beast did. Plant trees. He planted 20 million trees. I did the math on that before, and I did share that on my X account. The amount of tons of CO2 that 20 million trees captures, and it's a lot. It's a lot. It's in the like tens of millions or something like that. Well, I guess you could break it down to per tree. $48 pounds, not tons, but 48 pounds. A mature tree, 48 pounds carbon dioxide. So, let's see, 48 pounds. 960 million. So 480,000. I mean, that's still quite a ways from whatever that number was, 2 billion or whatever it was. So, I mean, planting trees, like 20 million trees sounds like a lot of trees, but I wonder how many acres that would be. All right, this will be it. I'll quit after this. 50,000 acres. Really? 400 trees per acre. All right. I mean, yeah, that sounds about right. Damn, 50,000 acres for 20 million trees. All right. So a million. So about 400 million trees in an area about the size of Yellowstone. That's about how many trees that would consist of. All right. I don't want to keep falling into that rabbit hole, so we'll just go on to the next one. So Craig Shepley, acting Chief Patrol, U.S. Border Patrol Sector Chief, Holton Sector, covering the state of Maine. He says, quote, U.S. Border Patrol has ended the practice of catch and release and will ensure that all illegal aliens are subject to prosecution and or repatriation to their country of citizenship or safe third country. Let's go, man. Oh, no, that's loud. Holy shit. I'm sorry. Re-entry after removal. Convicted. Got him. Don't do that again. Oh, yeah, we just read that. All right. Rock on. So, United States Trade Representative, because from their profile, Congress delegated to the president the ability to take economic action in response to national emergencies.
So first of all, the President of the United States has his foreign affairs power, where he can manage relations under the Constitution with foreign countries. Second of all, Congress delegated to the president the ability to take economic action in response to national emergencies in the International Economic Emergency Powers Act. And for example, the Treasury Department, they have a number of sanctions where they can actually cut off a country's trade with the United States, prohibit goods, cut them off from our financial system for geopolitical reasons. So the fact that they can do that, almost certainly the president can do something that's not as expansive and just put a fee on those goods, which is a tariff. So,
well, all right, yeah, I mean, the president's got so much freaking power, man. It almost seems unlimited sometimes, the amount of power that the president can wield or have at his disposal. So from Secretary Brooke Rollins, July was another nonstop month at USDA. Check out a few of our highlights. Secured, actually, I'll just hit play here. She'll explain it, but yeah, man, USDA. Let's hear a bit about what they're up to.
Hey everyone,
so far.
here we are on the rooftop at USDA with this month's
loud
actions. We've been very busy here, but we're going to show you a couple of the highlights from the last month. So here we go.
I got to get better at that.
Number one, monthly action, the president's incredible trade deals, especially for American farmers and ranchers. Back-to-back wins for our ranchers and our farmers and all of our ag producers. Thanks to President Trump's leadership, new trade deals with Japan, the Philippines, and Indonesia. More coming with the EU, China, and others.
Yeah.
Obviously, the Australian
the EU alone, isn't that like 27-something countries?
Years. Unbelievable.
I don't know what that lady was talking about with only 8.
He is unlocking billions in exports and delivering real market access.
The EU just counts as one.
For our beef, our poultry, our dairy, our soybeans, and so much more. We are knocking down barriers, eliminating tariffs, and creating wide open access for American farmers. This isn't just big, it is historic, and it is unprecedented. Action number 2, alongside Secretary Hegseth, Secretary Noem, and Attorney General Bondi, along with 3 of our country's best governors and leaders from the Hill, we at USDA launched a historic plan that elevates American agriculture as a key element of our national security and addresses urgent threats from foreign adversaries. We will never let foreign adversaries control our land, our labs, or our livelihoods.
Thank God.
Farm security is national security. This action plan...
And that is so crazy. If you look at that map, it shows Chinese-owned land across the United States, and it appears that the vast majority of it is located around our military bases.
Puts
How do you
America's
like
farmers,
that?
families, and future first exactly where they belong. Action number 3, America at 250. President Trump held a massive kickoff and celebration on the eve of Independence Day at the Iowa State Fairgrounds, where he launched the year-long Great American State Fair in celebration of America's 250th birthday.
The year-long.
This is an incredible celebration and putting agriculture, our farmers, and our ranchers at the center. The launch of the celebration is such a huge shout out to all of our incredible ag community. And we're just so grateful to President Trump for putting ag first. The celebration will culminate with a festival on the National Mall on July 4th, 2026. And what a joy it was to join the president on stage to help kick off this celebration in the heartland of America. Action number 4, we announced a reorganization of the U.S. Department of Agriculture.
I love this.
Specifically, what we are going to be doing with our headquarters in Washington, D.C.
Decentralizing Washington.
Thousands of our employees out into the country to get closer to our constituents, whether that's farmers, ranchers, or even the American
That is a
taxpayer.
very good idea.
So Raleigh, North Carolina, Kansas City, Missouri, Indianapolis, Indiana, Fort Collins, Colorado, and Salt Lake City, Utah, very soon to house regional headquarters for our USDA team. Within that reorganization, we will also be vacating many of our buildings and office spaces in Washington to, again, provide a better, more efficient, and more effective USDA for all of America.
Well, first off, I wonder what they're going to do with the buildings. And second of all, when they're restructuring this and adding the regional offices around the country, are they going to downsize it as much as they can or should?
Action number 5, I was so proud to stand with my friend,
Ice
HHS
cream.
Secretary Bobby Kennedy, and also our wonderful FDA Commissioner, Dr. Marty McCary, as the International Dairy Foods Association announced their commitment to get artificial colors out of ice cream made with real milk,
as
and
well as
sold at
40%
retail
of all the
stores
other
by
food
the end
companies
of
in America.
2027. This voluntary,
They
proactive
have
effort on the
pledged
part
to
of our
get
country's
artificial
ice cream
dye out of their
producers
food.
is a major step toward making America healthy again. And USDA is playing such an active role in that.
It's good and it's stupid. When you get something like mint ice cream, you can get the lime green mint ice cream, which is just artificially colored, or you could get the mint ice cream that's just the same color as vanilla and it tastes exactly the same. It's just ridiculous how crazy our foods have gotten over the years.
Action number 6, the devastation in Texas, my home state. But when disaster strikes, our mission at USDA is clear. Respond swiftly, stand with impacted communities, and help them rebuild. Texas, again, is my home and my heart, and these floods hit so close. USDA has moved quickly alongside our partners across the federal government and the state government and the local government.
I'm assuming food
to
assistance,
expedite
right?
Federal disaster assistance. Food aid, housing support, and emergency resources are being deployed to ensure that our families in Central Texas get what they need and get it when they need it. Action number 7, we announced a new and unprecedented food safety plan for America, opening up a beautiful new food safety facility this month in Missouri, where we made the case to America what we will do to continue to ensure that our food supply is safe for all of our families in this great country. Number 8,
that's essential.
USDA never sleeps. We are continuing to move out at record time. First, the $16 billion in the Supplemental Disaster Relief Program had over 21,000 applications approved. On the ECAP program, almost
16 billion. All right, 16 billion. 21,000 applicants. That's $762,000 on average per applicant. I don't know. All I'm saying, that's a lot of money.
$8 billion has been distributed and will continue to be so.
Oh, okay. $8 billion has been distributed so far, so it's probably more like 400,000 or 300,000.
Grants in record time. The first to the great state of Florida, $676 million. A lot of that to our citrus growers in South Florida,
Yay,
but across
Florida.
the great state. And just recently announced $61 million for
citrus industry here has been devastated from citrus greening. 90%
grateful to our USDA
of the citrus
team
industry
for
has been wiped out in
this
Florida since
funding
2005.
out in record time. That's a wrap on July.
A
August,
horror
here
show,
we
man.
Come.
All right, more to come. And that's for another discussion. But yeah, man, the citrus industry in Florida, it's a shell of its former self. It's been absolutely devastating down here. All right. Let's head on over to Rapid Response 47. Quote, there was an 818,000 downward revision, making the Joe Biden job record a lot worse than that came out after he withdrew, says National Economic Council Director Kevin Hassett on jobs numbers. Quote, it's the president's highest priority that the data be trusted.
There was a 818,000 revision, making the Joe Biden job record a lot worse, that came out after he withdrew from the presidential campaign. There have been a bunch of patterns that could make people wonder, and I think the most important thing for people to know is that it's the president's highest priority that the data be trusted and that people get to the bottom of why these revisions are so unreliable.
Yeah, I mean, they've been revising down even in recent months, just in the last two months, May and June, if I'm not mistaken, they reported high numbers of new jobs added, 75,000 or 100,000, somewhere around there. And then they revised it all the way down to like 17,000. Again, that's not jobs across the country. That's just new ones created. As I said before, we're still up in like the over 7 million mark for amount of jobs that are, or companies that are hiring individual jobs. So from the U.S. Department of Energy, we are paving the way for America's nuclear renaissance, ending reliance on foreign uranium and critical materials, empowering energy security, unlocking private investment, and reigniting a nuclear-powered future. Let's go. And from Secretary Doug Burgum, thank you to the dedicated law enforcement officers from BLM National, Bureau of Land Management, and the United States Park Police. There, I got it out. And then also the U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service, who spent the last few weeks conducting search operations in the flood-affected regions of Texas and New Mexico. Their courage and commitment are deeply appreciated by the nation and surrounding communities. So there they are, a couple of images of them doing what they do best, helping out in any way they can, trying to rebuild. It's an absolute catastrophe. Just, what do they say, once in a century event that occurred. And let's head down to Senator Angela, or does she have one of the weird, like, Angela? I don't know. I'm assuming it's Angela. Also, Brooks, another broken promise to the American people. Now this president and his Republicans in Congress want to make it harder to start a family. So that's in response to Jeff Stein. New Trump administration is not planning to require health insurers to cover IVF, sources say, in retreat from 2024 campaign pledge. Another apparent L from this administration for the conservative natalists. Or you could just try having a baby when God intended you to, when you're in your early 20s. That would be a start. Or just don't have an abortion. When you get pregnant, have the baby. Then most, I don't know about most, I would say a sizable percentage of these women who are looking to get pregnant in their 30s, late 30s, early 40s. That's not the time when you should be having kids, dude. You should be having kids when you're way, way younger. And besides, when you're dealing with high-risk pregnancy, geriatric pregnancy, it's way more likely to have certain defects, genetic deformities, and all that. I know the numbers are still pretty low. I mean, I'm sure we're probably talking like 2-3% chance. Still pretty low, but IVF is expensive. It's extremely expensive. If Trump really did say that on the campaign trail, I don't remember him saying that, but I'll just take her word for it. That was ridiculous. That's not something that the government should be paying for at all. If you want to have kids, but just do it the way that human beings were intended to have kids. Don't be waiting till the last freaking possible minute to decide that you want to start having a family. Let's do it the common sense way. Anyway, the White House does not plan to require health insurers to provide coverage for in vitro fertilization services to people with knowledge of internal discussions, and even though the idea was one of President Donald Trump's key campaign pledges, come on, man. Key campaign pledges? I somehow highly doubt that. He probably mentioned it in passing. Maybe some journalist or something asked him about it, and he's like, well, yeah, that's actually something we could look into. That's something that I'll give some consideration. More likely than not, in my opinion, that's probably how that came out. But maybe not. Maybe he actually just blatantly said it, that we will offer IVF services to anyone who's looking to have it, courtesy of the government. But it just doesn't, to me, it just doesn't sound like something that Trump would have ran on. But either way, I'll give it to her, I guess. But last year, Trump said that if he returned to office, the government would either pay for IVF services or issue rules requiring insurance companies to cover treatment for it. That sounds more like what he probably said. He probably said that he would work on getting insurance companies to cover it, even though I still don't think that should be the case at all, because you had years and years and years. Now, I'm not saying that all women who get IVF are in their 30s or 40s. Yes, there are some women who want to get pregnant. They're at a time in their life where it's optimal to have children and start a family. And for one reason or another, they're just having difficulty doing so. Yes, there are a lot of women out there who find themselves in that situation. And I believe if that is the case, if they're at a certain age, I don't know what you would cap the age at, what, like 30, maybe 32 or something like that. If you're under the age of 32 and you're trying to get pregnant and your doctor determines that you have to get IVF in order to have a successful pregnancy, then yeah, I would say the insurance probably should cover that in that case. I mean, that would be a form of healthcare. But I don't know. Does that sound too dystopic or too draconian, or is that handing way too much power over to the federal government? I don't know. What do you think? It's just an offhand thought. I don't know. But anyway, let's see. The pledge came as Trump faced political blowback over abortion rights after his appointees to the Supreme Court helped overturn Roe v. Wade. That was a good thing. And they did not ban abortion. The way that they framed that, they didn't ban abortion. All they did was just give abortion rights down to the states. And many states out there are still offering abortion services. Even a few states are still doing the abortion all the way up to the point of birth, which is completely psychotic. Quote, the federal government is going to pay for it, or we'll mandate your insurance company to pay for it, which is, where was that? Which is going to be great. We're going to do that, Trump said in August 2024. We want to produce babies in this country, right? I mean, I guess in that context, maybe he did say that. Perhaps he actually did. But if you ban abortion outright, completely ban abortion, and if a lot of modern women, for lack of a better way to describe them, if they keep up with their sescapades or their habits of being fast and loose with their bodies when it comes to personal pleasure with partners, then let's ban abortion. If we got to get our numbers up, which we do, our replacement rate is in the toilet. It's like, what, 2.1 or 2.3? Something like, or no, not 2 point. That would be over. No, it was like 1.6 or something. I don't want to give off a random number, so I'll just check it real quick. $2.1 per woman. Really? Since 1990? I thought it dropped. Oh, yeah. Here we go. Since 1990, the U.S. total fertility rate declined from about the replacement level of 2.1. So that's not current. That was in 1990. The fertility level needed for a population to replace itself, it has to be over 2.0 for the population to grow. It went from one generation to the next down to 1.62 births per woman in 2023. That is a fast decline. And of course, the global elitists, in my opinion, they're getting exactly what they want. They want depopulation. They want a world where we have 100 million humans or less. So this is music to their ears, not music to everybody else's, because that's going to bring about a ton of problems. To have, imagine having a smaller young population than an aging population. Can you see like that huge amount of problems that would result out of that? It would be catastrophic, but we're heading down that road right now. And of course, Democrats and probably even Republicans will say, well, that's what immigration's for. We'll just fix the numbers through immigration. Well, that's not it's not exactly, I don't know, like keeping America sovereign. You know, we want to keep America as sovereign as we can while still allowing immigrants to come in. I'm not saying that we shouldn't have immigration. I'm just saying that that's a stupid idea, that we convince our young women in America to just not have kids because we can just import immigrants instead. I mean, why the fuck would you advocate for that? Because they're anti-nuclear family. They're anti-family. They're anti-tradition. Anyway, Sheldon Whitehouse, EVs are quieter, simpler, less expensive to run, and more fun to drive than equivalent combustion cars. I call bullshit on that, 100%. Dude's never driven a manual. Manual vehicles are a hell of a lot more fun than any other type of vehicle. EVs, you push the pedal down. Yeah, I'm sure they accelerate insanely quick. I bet that would be fun. Less expensive to run, I'm not so sure about that. Tell that to somebody who's got an EV and they plug it into their house to charge, because a lot of people are saying that it's not cheaper than it was when they were buying gas. I mean, a lot of people claim that, especially if you don't have the opportunity to have a charger at your home. If you live in an apartment complex, for instance, you have to use public chargers. Those are a lot more expensive than you would have coming from your home charger. And plus, if you get into a simple fender bender, it costs many thousands of dollars to fix it because EVs are just a lot more complicated when it comes to collision repair and a whole bunch of other things. So I'm calling BS on a lot of what he's saying here. But anyway, Trump will slow but may not stop the rise of electric vehicles. Just let the market speak for itself. Only 2% of all vehicles on the road right now are electric. That's it, just 2%. So I think the public is speaking loud and clear. Plus, greater than 50% of current EV drivers or first-time EV drivers, over 50% of them said that they will not consider buying an EV for their next vehicle. And the number one complaint that they have is range anxiety. They don't like the fact that they could run out of miles and it could take them quite a long time to charge their car in many cases. So anyway, sales of Teslas are plunging. Gee, I wonder why. It's because Americans don't like electric vehicles. All right, let me make this bigger. All right, General Motors and other automakers are increasing production of big pickups and sport utility vehicles because Americans want gas, dude. We've tried the EV thing. We don't like it. Electric vehicles have clearly lost momentum in the United States, and combustion engine cars and trucks are enjoying a renaissance to the dismay of environmentalists who worry about air pollution and greenhouse gases. But there's a reason to believe that electric vehicles will remain a significant part of the U.S. car market and that sales of these models will eventually grow again in the coming months. I mean, dude, there's a niche amount of people who actually like EVs. And if I didn't love driving a manual so much, which that's all I've driven in my adult life with the exception of like one car that I've owned, like 95% of my adult life, I've only had a manual. If not for that, I would actually benefit a lot more from having an electric than my current car because I live very close to everything. On average, I probably drive like maybe 1 mile a day, if that. Everything. The post office, the library, restaurants, fast food, Home Depot, Walmart. I mean, city parks. I've got 2 or 3 city parks nearby. Yeah, I mean, anything that I could think of, it's almost walking distance from where I live. It's amazing. But yeah, having an electric vehicle would benefit somebody like me in that case, or those who are like pro 15-minute cities where everybody lives in their pods and they eat bugs and they don't have to worry about going anywhere. So let's see. Electric vehicles from Tesla and other automakers are less vulnerable to President Trump's tariffs than many conventional cars because more of their parts are made in the United States. Yeah, did you know that? Tesla's made in the USA. That Tesla is more of an American car than any other vehicle out there currently. Advocacy groups are conducting marketing campaigns to emphasize the lower fuel costs and other advantages of electric vehicles, and automakers appear to realize that they cannot give up on electric cars if they hope to remain competitive globally. Yeah, that's partially true. Plus, they've invested so many billions of dollars into electric vehicle manufacturing, and they are absolutely eating it in all the bad ways. I mean, Ford, man, they're losing billions of dollars a year. What was it, that Ford, what was that Mustang one? The Ford, oh shit, man, it's right on the tip of my tongue. It's the Ford EV, the Mach-E, that's what it is, the Mach-E. Those things are costing Ford over $100,000 to produce each one of them, and they can't sell them. They've sold some of them, but they're not able to sell them for more than, what, 50,000, maybe 55,000. People are not going to pay over $100,000 for those things. They're just simply not. So, all right, let's see here. Washington has become hostile to electric cars. Government policy on electric vehicles have reversed since Mr. Trump was elected. For consumers, the most visible change is the elimination of tax credits of up to $7,500 for electric vehicle purchases and leases, and I think that's a wonderful thing. I don't think the government should be subsidizing vehicles at all. Last I checked, it's a luxury to drive a car, right? It's not a right to have a vehicle. So anyway, the credits, which have existed in various forms since early 2000s, were revived by Democrats when Joe Biden was president, will now expire at the end of September under the big policy and tax law that Mr. Trump signed in July. So get ready to see a shitload of EV commercials all over your TV screens if you're still one of those dinosaurs that still have cable TV. No, to be fair, ads all over the internet. I mean, they cater ads locally all the time. I mean, I see local ads all the time on YouTube and whatnot. So, yeah, anyway, I'll just read just a little bit more here. By 2030, there will be 8.3 million fewer electric vehicles and plug-in hybrids on U.S. roads than there would have been if incentives had remained in place. They can't know that, but I get it. They're estimating. According to a study, Princeton University, Republicans abolished penalties for violations of clean air standards, which had pushed car makers to produce electric vehicles. Yep, they were strong-armed into producing electric. Plus, they saw how much money Tesla was making, and they wanted to get in on the action. That as well. So GM is among companies exploiting policy changes. The car maker, America's largest, is investing $900 million to manufacture V8 engines. Let's fucking go, dude. Finally. Near Buffalo, vehicles that run on gasoline or diesel now have a longer runway. Said last month, Mary T. Barra, GM's chief executive. It's a good thing. The average American, they just want a car that's reliable, that's not breaking the bank. EVs are quite expensive. They're just not what Americans generally want. So anyway, let's move on to the next one. From Rep. Marjorie Taylor Greene, I think it's one of the most startling and tragic statistics I have seen. Only 12% of 30-year-olds, excuse me, oh my God, I need a drink of water. Only 12% of 30-year-olds are married and own a home. Marriage, family, and home ownership are the ultimate trifecta of security and happiness. I hope this trajectory can be reversed. There's a lot of societal problems. There's a lot of social problems going on. A lot of young women are incentivized to, well, not incentivized, but they're urged, and they're essentially, for lack of a better word, they're being brainwashed into hating men. The whole, who would you choose if you're lost in the woods? Would you choose a man or a bear? Oh my God, I'd choose the bear. I'm so scared of men like R-wording me around every corner. It's just brain dead lunacy. So, yeah, we got a lot of societal problems, especially among progressive women, trying to be conditioned to hate men. And that absolutely should not be happening, needless to say. And a whole bunch of other problems that are occurring in our society. A lot with social media, dating sites. That's a shit, man. That's like a 3-hour video just by itself with all the problems that dating sites are causing. And yeah, a lot of men they're just checking out. They're just realizing that, you know what? I have a lot more fun with my hobbies than trying to endlessly chase dates and women. And too many women are going on dates just for free meals these days. I'm not saying most. I'm just saying some of them are. And it's unreasonable to a lot of men. And you can see that playing out where a lot of women go to singles events in large cities, and they're starting to find that 90 to 95% of the people who show up are women and not men. And there's some singles events that they've even offered men to drink free drinks. You know, remember Ladies' Night? Remember when that was the thing? Yeah, they're trying to do that just to try to get men to come. But they've got impossible standards, man. Too many women, modern women, young ladies, they got impossible standards. The 666 Giga Chad, or whatever the fuck they're calling him. You know, he's got to be over 6 feet tall. He's got to make 6 figures. He's got to have a 6-pack, so on and so forth. And yeah, what is it? Like only 15% of men out there earn 6 figures, something like that. So they're eliminating 85% of all men right out the gate. But not all women. I'm not saying even most women have that philosophy. They're not, but a lot of them do, and it's very problematic. And I think it's directly reflecting in her analysis that only 12% of 30-year-olds are married, and that's not even touching the housing market. That's also a major problem too. Young Americans in their 20s, you really think that a 25-year-old recent college graduate that's already in school debt, and they're also in credit card debt because they didn't learn financial literacy when they should have, and now they're walking out into their adulthood with probably 6 figures in debt. You really think they're going to be able to afford a $400,000, $500,000 house anytime soon? I don't think so, especially with the interest rates on top of that. All right, Senate Republican leadership just blocked a bill requiring the DOJ to retain any records related to Jeffrey Epstein. Chris Van Hollen, release the damn Epstein files. Release those files. I don't know if you've been watching my videos recently, you know my take on it. I think just release the damn files, man. I agree. Just release what you got. I mean, Trump said none of it's pertinent enough. None of it's really relevant enough. Like there's no client list, even though I went through that earlier today. If you watch my 3-hour video when I was just hanging out, just chilling, I went through that and I was looking up Epstein, the flight logs. And there were a lot of prominent people who the flight logs indicate they flew to Epstein Island. So, I mean, he must have had a client list. I mean, just logic would seem to lead you in that direction. All right, let's see what he says here.
President Trump, Attorney General Bondi, do not destroy the evidence of the Epstein files.
Dude, the Democrats already did that. Let's be real. Joe Biden, the Biden administration, they destroyed these files. That's why they're not releasing it, because there is no more client list, because I think the Democrats already destroyed them.
And within 60 days,
just my humble opinion,
this Senate with answers to questions regarding the case.
I mean, look, and then you would probably ask, well, then why did Pam Bondi come out and say that we're going to release these files immediately, over the next few days after we review them? I think she just played her hand too quick. I think she didn't realize that they were already destroyed. I think she just hit the ground running and said that she was going to release them, and the Democrats were just clever at hiding them. They hid them, or whether if they physically hid them or if they hid them behind procedures and red tape, which required the incoming administration to go through hurdles to obtain the information, because maybe AG Pam Bondi didn't have top secret clearance yet, or classified access yet. Maybe other bureaucrats or administration officials just didn't have the ability to view the files just yet, because they were just now incoming into the new administration. And therefore, they just assumed that all the files were there, because they all should be there, because it's illegal to destroy evidence. And then come to find out, it was destroyed. And if they were to come out and say, oh my God, the Democrats destroyed all the Epstein files, then the Democrats would probably say, nuh-uh, they were all there when we left. You destroyed them. And then they play that stupid back and forth game.
What this amendment does...
Again, that's all speculation from my part. That's just me speculating. I'm not saying that I read that anywhere. I'm just saying that's just my conspiratorial opinion.
Exactly the same as the amendment that passed unanimously with Republican and Democratic support out of the Appropriations Committee, the same provision that Senator Barrasso this morning said was a Republican proposal. So I hope all the Republicans will join us in supporting this measure.
Yep, release what you got.
Mr. President, Majority Whip. I object.
Release the damn Epstein files.
Why?
And for God's sakes, don't try to destroy the evidence while we wait for those files to be released.
Well, that would be illegal, sir. That would be illegal. That's something that we know for a fact that Democrats are engaged with doing. I think Hillary Clinton kind of comes to mind with that, destroying evidence. All right, so congratulations, Congressman Molinaro. He has been confirmed by the Senate as Federal Transit Administrator. Way to go. We got another one confirmed. So I don't know if they had to play hardball to get him confirmed or if they did it the right way. But nevertheless, he's confirmed. He's good to go. Ready to start work. So from Rep. Debbie Wasserman Schultz, House Republicans want to block warnings on potentially cancer-causing pesticides. If that's true, then what the fuck, Republicans? I refuse to stand by and let corporate lobbyists keep health risks hidden. It's only 17 seconds.
I've walked the hard path of a cancer diagnosis and treatment. I've seen what it does to families and felt the impacts. I've walked the hard path of a cancer diagnosis and treatment. I've seen what it does to families and felt the impacts of my own family and children. And I refuse to stand by while we let corporate lobbyists write language that muzzles states and leaves families in the dark about real risks to their health.
Yeah, I mean, if that's what's happening, I'd like to know why they're blocking warnings on that. Let's see what this Doge AI character is saying. Well, Doge AI agrees, at least. Usually it pushes back against Democrats, but this time it seems to agree. Section 453 of the fiscal year 26 Interior Environmental Bill is a corporate handout disguised as policy, blocking states from updating pesticide warnings based on new science. That's not limited impact. That's a $55 billion liability. Shield for Bayer and Syngenta, letting them dodge accountability for Roundup and Paraquat lawsuits. Oh, is that what they're doing? Yeah, that is fucked up that they're doing that, because Bayer purchased Monsanto some years back. It was like not exact on the year, 2010 I think comes to mind, but maybe it wasn't that long ago. But anyway, Bayer purchased Monsanto and all the lawsuits that came with it with regard to Roundup. And now Bayer is exploring the possibility or the potential of filing Chapter 13 bankruptcy on their Monsanto division because they want to put a stop to paying out all this lawsuit money because it's costing Bayer billions and billions of dollars. That is some shady-ass bullshit. So, all right, anyway, let's just head on down to the next one. There's still a few to get to. Oh, my God, I'm already almost 2 hours. Holy shit. All right, so this is the Bureau of Labor Statistics. Job openings at 7.4 million in June of 2025. I knew we were going to end up getting to that. So that's how many total jobs that are open and available and ready for hiring as of June of 2025. Not 14,000, not 17,000, 7.4 million. And if you look at this, graph here, you'll see going all the way back to 10 years ago in 2015. I mean, it's been at least 5 million the entire time, with the exception of the whole COVID bullshit that happened. And it actually spiked up pretty high. It went up a lot higher than I thought it did. Because didn't the Great Resignation happen? I thought that happened. And, oh, okay, duh. That's why the graph went up. Well, I'm glad I caught myself before I took that too far. Yeah. So the Great Resignation happened in 2021, which is why the number of available jobs just spiked up so high, because just a lot of people had just damn it all mentality back then. I mean, COVID fucked up a lot of people, man. Not just the getting sick part, but just whether if it was cabin fever or getting furloughed, the rent moratorium, because that ended up kicking back in at some point in time, even though the government paid a lot of people's rents, which I thought was bullshit because I worked full-time all throughout COVID, as I'm sure you probably did and many others did. We had to pay all our bills. But I get it. A lot of people were furloughed through no fault of their own. It was just the government insanity insisting that lockdowns happen, which, again, that's for an entirely different 4-hour discussion. So from Rep. Debbie Dingell, Donald Trump and Republicans' reckless economic policies are causing unemployment to rise. At the same time, prices are surging. The American people cannot afford to live or work in Trump's economy. Unemployment's rising. Job openings, I mean, it looks like it's going down to me. In the month of June. Of course, she doesn't cite any sources. So from NBC News on August 1st, the labor market is worse than previously thought, with the latest data showing the U.S. created about 106,000 total jobs in the past 3 months, the weakest pace of growth since the onset of the 2020 pandemic. I mean, that's possible. I mean, I won't exactly argue it, but I'll still push back and say that there's over 7 million jobs available. All right, so U.S. Rep. Brittany Pedersen. We kicked off our work in the district answering questions from constituents who are deeply concerned about the impacts of the Big Ugly Bill at Eaton senior communities. My heart breaks thinking about the seniors who are on fixed incomes and are already struggling to pay for a roof over their head and their medications. Now Trump's disastrous bill. Oh my God. It takes food from 27,000 Coloradans and strips health coverage for up to 470,000 people. More propaganda. There's no other way to say it. For many, this bill will take the lifeline away that so many seniors depend on. I promise to continue to use my position in Congress to push back against Trump's cruel agenda and do everything in my power to protect the programs our seniors rely on. So 470,000 seniors losing health care. No, they're not. That ain't happening. I don't want to keep dwelling on this. I just want to show the fact that this is what Democrats just keep talking about. They keep just drumming this same drum over and over, day after day, beating this dead horse, trying to get their constituents to believe that everybody's going to lose health care and it's all big bad orange man's fault. But yeah, it's not about funding cuts. It's about systemic theft. Program bleeds $55 billion annually in improper payments, fraud, and ER misuse by non-citizens, by illegal aliens. While politicians cry about coverage losses, they ignore the real rot: bloated bureaucracy, duplicate programs, zero eligibility audits, so on and so forth. All right, so from Bernie Morano, this is who Cincinnati City Council member Victoria Parks says deserved the beatdown she got. That is so fucked up. I mean, absolutely should be resigning for that shit. This is who Pastor Damon Lynch wants on a mugshot. This is who police chief won't say is not a Russian woman who fled back to her country. This is who mayor is too busy to meet. And, of course, we're talking about the poor woman who was attacked by the vicious mob in Cincinnati. This is her first message on camera. Through the tears. Oh, well, here, I'll let her say it for herself. This is from Benny Johnson. And we'll give this a play. I mean, she looks terrible, man.
I just want to say thank you so much to everyone for all of the love and support. It is very humbling that you have sent your prayers, your blessings. It's definitely what's keeping me going. And you have just brought back faith and humanity. So God bless you all. Thank you. I appreciate everything that you're doing for me and my family. It's been very, very hard, and I'm still recovering. I still have a very bad brain trauma. And it's, thank you, everyone.
That's horrible. Just horrible how they politicize that on top of everything, too. I didn't read much into this. Did they make any arrests? I'm honestly not for sure. I'm assuming they probably didn't. Or if they did, they probably just turned them loose like the same night, if anything. But yeah, I was going to. Oh, wow. Look at this. Now the piece of shit Cincinnati mob is trying to start a GoFundMe for the coward attackers. Fuck these assholes, man. They can go fuck themselves. I was just about to mention that she's probably got a GoFundMe that's doing it extremely well, I bet. She's probably got $1 million GoFundMe at this point. I mean, because they're just a lot of voices or a lot of high-profile accounts on X, they were trying to get this story out because the mainstream media didn't say fuck all about it. They didn't say anything about it. Oh, yeah, here we go. Gifts and Go. Not GoFundMe. Yeah, GoFundMe would probably shut it down. Look at this. Goal, 25 grand. She's raised $300,000. Good grief, man. That is awesome. That is awesome. Prayer requests and updates. Well, financially, she's got, a hell of a lot of breathing room, especially if her medical cover or her medical treatment will be ongoing, which I assume it will be if she's got brain trauma. That's horrible, man. Yep, we have sick animals living in our country. There's no doubt about that. All right, so from @Amuse, Justice CIA Director John Ratcliffe has confirmed that former CIA Director John Brennan, former FBI Director James Comey, and former Secretary of State Hillary Clinton face indictments for their crimes. Do you believe him? I can't say that I really do.
So what I think I hear you saying...
I'll wait until I hear from the horse's mouth. I'll wait until I hear from the DOJ. I want to hear from Pam Bondi herself. That's who I want to hear from. I don't want to hear from the CIA guy.
There is still an opportunity for indictments, potential prosecutions, accountability from those people who may have lied under oath, like John Brennan, James Comey, and perhaps Hillary Clinton.
Well, that's why I've made the referrals that I have. DNI Gabbard has made referrals.
Yeah.
And why we're going to continue to share the intelligence that would support the ability of our Department of Justice to make bring fair and just claims against those who have perpetrated this hoax against the American people and this stain on our country.
Director, one other question on this. Tulsi, as well as President Trump, used the word...
Yeah, they're going to cut that off. Yeah, we'll see. So this is from Newsmax. Indian officials have reportedly said they would keep purchasing oil from Russia despite the threat of penalties that U.S. President Donald Trump said he would impose. So I'm not going to read through it, but I will link it if you are interested in reading that. So, yeah, they're going to keep buying oil. I don't know if he's going to try to work out a deal with India. India is the largest country on the planet by population. I am not so sure if the United States produces nearly enough oil and gas to supply India. So it sounds like India is kind of between a rock and a hard place. I mean, who else are they going to buy from with a population that size? So, but the article's there for you to read. From Lee Zeldin, Paige Hansen was just confirmed by the U.S. Senate as EPA's chief financial officer. Paige brings a wealth of expertise in complex budgets and over 2 decades of experience. I look forward to working with her in this new role. There you have it. Confirmed 50 to 45. And Ambassador Mary Kay L. Carlson, POV, joined me in the jump seat of a V-22 Osprey, helping coordinate relief supply delivery to communities affected by recent typhoons and flooding. Dude, these planes are so badass. I remember these. Remember when Trump did his July 4th salute to America? I think that was in 2020. And he had all the branches of the military. They were flying their like featured aircrafts. And I remember the Osprey was one of them. I think it was with the Army, right? I think it was with the Army. They mentioned typhoons. I'm assuming Vietnam, because I know Vietnam was hit by a typhoon. But yeah, there's probably other regions that were affected too. So that was cool. All right, so from U.S. Department of Labor, check this out. Carmelo Castle becomes the first high schooler in Texas history to complete the state plumbing examination. He's only 18 years old, and he's now working as a tradesman for Local 68 Plumbing. I bet that probably by the time he's probably 19 or 20 years old, he's probably going to be making more money than most recent college graduates. Probably even more than probably most college graduates will probably earn across their careers, for that matter, because plumbers, man, they make good money.
The ISD program is paving the way for future plumbers. The high school's plumbing program gives kids hands-on experience, which prepares them for the real world.
A little model.
Carmelo Castle is the first graduate to meet all the criteria and to excel in the workforce. 12 News reporter Spencer Plato got to talk to him and the instructor, who says the district hopes this is really going to inspire others to join the program, right?
They should, man.
That's right, Jordan. The Woodville High School plumbing program is only 4 years old. This past May, they celebrated their first graduate and the first in Texas to pass the state exam straight out of a high school plumbing program and to go straight to work.
Push it hard, remember. It gave me a chance to actually step up in life.
At just 18 years old, Carmelo Castle is already working at a second-year tradesman level. It's all thanks to the training he received through Woodville High School's plumbing program.
The fact that I'm so young doing this stuff, I mean, you know, average teenagers are partying and stuff.
Oh, yeah.
And all that. See,
wasting away on their phones,
be
gaming consoles.
The separate one of the group.
Castle is the first graduate from the new plumbing program. He's also the first in Texas to finish a high school plumbing program and pass the state exam. Now he works for Local 68 Plumbing.
I was so used to it as soon as I went in to where it didn't really affect me.
This is our shop area right here. It's a large shop, but we have this area here primarily for my class, which is the plumbing class.
John Bunker is the Woodville High School plumbing instructor. He says the program helps students get a head start on their careers with hands-on experience.
For them to be able to go through a class such as this and then qualify right away to be able to go and take their plumbing tradesman exam, and if they pass, they have a license in their pocket.
I mean, that says a lot about him as the instructor, man. That dude's like the GOAT of plumbing.
The average age.
I hope they start cranking them out by the dozens each year.
43.
What?
The average age of apprentices is 37.
Oh, wow. Dude, the average age of an apprentice for plumbing is 37? Man, oh man, career change.
We need younger people coming into the workforce, or we're going to have some problems.
Castle says he's grateful for the program.
Yeah, we're going to have some very expensive plumbing fees.
A different path.
You can't really follow the same crowd all day and then knowing that you're not going to get anywhere.
Bunker says they expect 3 Woodville High School students to take the state plumbing exam this upcoming school year. In the studio, Spencer Plato, 12 News.
Great to see them finding.
I mean, dude, just pointing out the fact that look, it is backbreaking work. It's very difficult work, and I'm sure it's very stressful at times. But man, that money, he's gonna make so much money. I hope he does well. All right, so from White House Office of the National Cyber, ONCD. Let me make sure I get this right. White House Office of the National Cyber Director. We are excited to share that today the U.S. Senate confirmed Sean Cairncross as the National Cyber Director. You can read more here. Again, I'll link it in the description. by clicking on it. That is a reminder to myself that it will be there below if you care to read it. And this is from Chuck Schumer. I'm closely monitoring reports of an earthquake in the New York and New Jersey area and praying everyone is safe. Please follow local guidance and stay alert for possible aftershocks. I think, didn't I read? I don't know if I read that last night. I think I might have. But yeah, anyway, yeah, I definitely remember going through that. But yeah, it was a 3.0 Chuck. There's bigger tremors than when Jerry Nadler walks into his kitchen. Whoever's posting this shit isn't Chuck because he's a lying sack of potatoes. Goes to bed too early. Yeah, I think I already went through this yesterday, so I'm going to go ahead and skip this one. But I'm pretty sure I did. But yeah, it's on from 23 hours ago. So yeah, if you care to read that. Matter of fact, actually, I don't think I did because, yeah, that doesn't make sense because it was 23 hours ago. I don't think I would have. But here, let me just check a couple of them here. How much is Soros paying you? Oh, we all know he's getting fat paid. Shut up and make me a burger, cuck. Letitia James just farted, man. Calm down. It's just a 3.0 Chuck, not earth-shattering. Someone said that they're like, "Are you seriously telling me that you're actively monitoring this? How the fuck are you doing that? You're a freaking old ass senator. You're not monitoring shit." Yeah, monitoring. What the fuck are you going to do? Go grill your meat. If you remember, he had that stupid ass like video showing that he's like this expert at grilling when he had raw hamburger patties with cheese on it. Let's see. Praying to what? Yeah, nihilist. Let's see. What dirty shit are you grilling up now, Chucky? Yeah, there's the raw burgers with cheese. It's just an idiot, man. 3.0. Just resign already. All right. Let's move on. I don't want to waste time on Chuck Schumer. The art of the deal. Attention at Chuck Schumer. This came from President Trump himself on his Truth Social. Senator crying Chuck Schumer is demanding over $1 billion in order to approve a small number of our highly qualified nominees who should right now be helping to run our country. This demand is egregious and unprecedented and would be embarrassing to the Republican Party if it were accepted. This is political extortion. I couldn't agree more. By any other name. Tells Schumer, who is under tremendous political pressure from within his own party, the radical left lunatics, to go to hell. Do not accept the offer. Go home and explain to your constituents what bad people the Democrats are and what great job the Republicans are doing and have done for our country. Have a great recess and make America great again. I just cannot believe that that's illegal. And what the hell does he want $1 billion for anyway? Nothing good. I can tell you that. All right. So congratulations from Senator Katie Boyd Britt. Congratulations to my friend and Northport native, Adam Tell, who was confirmed by the Senate tonight as POTUS's Assistant Secretary of the Army for Civil Works. His leadership at the Army Corps couldn't come at a more important time, and I'm thankful he is willing to serve. Confirmed 72-22. Solid confirmation. This is from Janine Pirro. I am blessed to have received a Senate confirmation vote this evening of 50-45 to be the United States Attorney for the District of Columbia, the largest United States Attorney's office in the country. Thank you to those senators who supported my confirmation, and D.C., get ready for a real crime fighter. There you go. And Senate Republicans. Thank you to Senator John Thune and our Republican warriors in the Senate. Fight and win. I'm with you all the way at real Donald Trump. And let's see, very proud of our great Republican senators for fighting over the weekend and far beyond, if necessary, in order to get my great appointments approved and on their way to helping us make America great again. The radical left Democrat senators are doing everything possible to delay these wonderful and talented people from being approved. If George Washington or Abraham Lincoln were up for approval, the Dems would still delay as long as possible, then vote them out. The Democrats want our country to fail because they have failed. Thank you to Senator John Thune and our Republican warriors in the Senate. Fight and win. I am with you all the way. And that wraps up today's video, tonight's video. That is a wrap. So if you enjoyed the content, please give the video a like and please subscribe if you're so generous to do so. And also leave a comment. I'll read all my comments and I might even feature yours on tomorrow's video. If you got something to contribute, something to throw in, I'll add it. And even if you recommend something, if something happened that I missed, definitely drop a comment because I would love to see that too, because I keep track of what's going on throughout the day. But just the way the algorithms work, there might be an occasional really important post that might have went out that I didn't catch. So yeah, definitely let me know if there's anything that happened that makes you go, dude, why the hell didn't you cover this? This thing was like crazy ass huge news today. Yeah, definitely let me know. But I'm trying to stay on top of everything. And anyway, yeah, again, if you enjoyed the video, please like, subscribe, and I'll see you tomorrow. God bless America.